So today's video, I kind of want to go over stuff pertaining to art prints. I can't really help you on like pins or charms or anything because I don't do those. But I kind of just want to go over prints when it comes to quality, matte versus satin, so satin gloss, quantity, price, size, places to buy, and the printers that I personally use. So, when I started doing Artist Alley in 2013, 2014, I was charging $10 a print. And it was, I think, a reasonable price then because I was only paying like $200 to get into a show, at least my local shows. Now, you're more like 450 to 550 depending on if you're in line or corner. So I've had to adjust my prices over the years, especially when I started going to out of state shows. Um, so now I charge pretty much the standard that's in most artist alleys now, which is 20, $25. Any artist that you pretty much go to, that's mainly what they're charging for the size prints that I have. And the lower price, yeah, you may get more sales, but you're not going to be getting as much. And when it comes to doing shows that are out of state, you got to figure you're having to pay for travel, the con, food, hotel, and whatnot. Though those are tax write-offs, you still want to think about all of that. So yeah, I charge 20 for my prints now, and do like a deal where if you buy three, you get it for 50 instead of 60. Another way of doing it is you can do the buy two get one free. I did that in the beginning, but you start getting rid of a lot of inventory, and especially if it's your more popular stuff, you're going to run out before the end of the show. So that kind of goes into quantity of prints. This is the one that I'm going to hammer on the most because when I first started, I over purchased the quantity of prints. So I got like 30 or so prints of each of my stuff. I mean, I had a stack like this big, and that stack is pretty much still that big. A lot of my early stuff did not sell all that much, so yeah, I still have a lot of my early work. So that is one thing I will suggest is buying less or printing less. As a standard now, I usually will only take 5 or 6 prints to every show of each piece. The only time I will take 10 or more of a print is if it is a more popular piece. So my most popular pieces are my 2 charcoal Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein, and then my 3 Coraline pieces that I have. Those pieces I usually take 10 to 15 of each because they sell like crazy. Because with the 3 Coralines, people will usually buy those. With the Bride and Frank, people want to buy the set of those. So yeah, usually we'll take extras of those. I mean, you don't want to end up with a stack of stuff that will never sell, and having that lower amount will kind of give you an idea that first second day of what's going to be one of your top sellers. And that's what I kind of learned from those pieces. So that's why I always have a overabundance of those and don't take too much of my others. And even when it comes to newer stuff, If there's one I think will sell good, I will take a couple extras of it. But if it's a local show, I don't really worry too much because I can always print some, bring them back the next day. As for out of state shows, they would probably just have to order them. So, and I think most people that purchase an artist alley is usually spur of the moment. So it's kind of a hard thing, but yeah, I can just say don't over purchase the quantity of prints, especially if it's a newer print, because you don't know how it's going to sell. And each show is different. It may sell really good at that show, but when you go to a different show, it's possibly not going to sell as good. So that is one thing to worry about. I've done comic shows, anime shows, horror shows, and anything will sell at them, but it just depends on the group and audience that's there. Yeah. As for like sizing of prints, I highly suggest keep to a pretty standard size. So my prints, I design a lot of them in 11 by 17 now. I used to design them all in 11 by 14, but I just do 11 by 17s now, and then I crop it down to 11 by 14. It's pretty standard size. You can get frames pretty much anywhere, and that's the biggest thing. Like, I've purchased art to where I've had to buy weird frame sizes that I've never seen. I mean, I've got some that are like newspaper article type frames. So, yeah, I highly suggest sticking to 11 by 17, 11 by 14, 8 by 9, no, 8, not 6 by 9, and 5 by 7s. 8.5 by 11 is another one. And then that kind of comes into another thing, selling different print sizes. So I've always stuck to one size because I don't want to print multiple sizes. That's just a personal thing for me. If you want to print multiple sizes, that's up to you. I don't have too many people ask if I have a different size because I usually kept mine at the 11 by 14. Yeah, so buying prints though, when I started, I got them at my local community college because when I started shows, I was still in college. That is one place I highly suggest checking out because the prices are good, the paper's not bad, and they'll cut it down to size and everything for you. The paper I used was a matte 80-pound hammer mill cover stock. It was always a nice paper. I never had any issues with it. Colors and stuff always came out good for me. So I did that for my first 10 years of doing shows, and then switched to doing prints at home. And that's when I bought a Canon 8720 printer and started doing it at home. So when I started doing that, I had to obviously look into different papers. So I went with the Red River matte to start with because in the early years, a lot of my art was black and white, charcoal. So I didn't want it to be like super glossy or anything. So sticking with that matte was nice for that. And then when I started doing color, I switched to a satin, and then also got a even nicer printer, the Canon Pro 2100, which is overkill, but it has CMYK and RGB, so it gets really nice colors. And with that, I can do rolled paper, which saves money rather than single sheets. But yeah, I can kind of show the difference between the matte and a satin. So This would be the satin, and this would be the matte. And you can see just in the red that the satin is going to be brighter. And you know, with the matte, you kind of do lose a little color, little detail, whatnot. But yeah, just having that brighter image for the color stuff is a little nicer. Where the matte for my black and whites is just fine. Yeah, so other places that you could probably do prints. I know there's places online that do them. I've never really ordered them online. I've always just gone through my local school. So I kind of hope some of this gives you an idea, especially if you're starting to come into Artist Alley. Pretty much don't over purchase the amount of prints, especially when you're first starting. Don't go for some crazy weird sizes. And don't excessively overprice, but don't undersell yourself. It's still your art. It's still worth what you think. I'm just trying to give my 2 cents on what the standard is for most of art now. Yeah, like I said, 2025 for 11 by 14 and up is pretty standard. So hope this helps, and